I'm a Real Life Trucker is a podcast series presented by Livetrucking.com in association with Livetrucking.com. We interview professional drivers about their lives, their jobs, and various views about the industry. Interviews use first names only and no company names so that drivers can feel open about their history and views. This is Tim Spence with Apps for Truckers, and you're listening to
I'm a Real Life Trucker.
episode number 1.
My name is Troy. I'm 51 years old, and I'm from St. Matthews, South Carolina. And I flatbed and step deck. I was raised in the country about 15 miles from the closest town. We lived on a 2-mile dirt road. We were the only house on that dirt road, and me and my brothers, which I have 3 older brothers. I'm the youngest of the family. And me and my brothers, if we weren't riding mini bikes, dirt bikes, or bicycles, we were just getting lost in the swamp. We helped Mom and Dad around the house. You know, we did our chores around the house. We had chickens. We had our garden. We had animals we had to take care of. And we had to do that just so, you know, we were raised poor. We had to do what we had to do to get food on the table. And my Mom and Dad, they both worked all the time, and they did what they could do. At about the age of 12, I got my first job working at a service station. And I worked in a service station till after I graduated high school. And believe it or not, I was the only mechanic at that service station for years. And I decided mechanic wasn't for me, and I had some friends of mine tell me that I should be a trucker, because there's a company right down the road from where the service station was that had a bunch of trucks. And matter of fact, even the owner of the truck company told me I should be in a truck, because for some reason everybody said it fit my personality, which I didn't understand what they meant then, but I do now, because it does fit me like a glove.
So when did you get into trucking, Troy?
Right at 22 years old, I talked to a gentleman about getting a job at a warehouse, and he told me what he really needed was somebody to work in the warehouse and also to drive the truck. So I agreed to it, and it was, as a matter of fact, I was a 1099 then. That was my first contract job. I was contracted to work so many days a week, and I worked in the warehouse. I picked my orders for my load, and I delivered my load and unloaded my trailer, which I had 21 stops around Atlanta, Georgia. And you talk about a lot of fun. That was just one of the best times ever. Because if you can imagine 21 stops around Atlanta, Georgia.
Before we get to talking about the industry, tell me a little bit more about your family life and how things are at home.
Throughout the years, after my father passed away, I was basically one taking care of my mother. My other 3 brothers had families of their own, which, you know what, they need to take care of their family too. So I had Mom move in with me as she got older. And I basically took care of her. And, you know, she passed December 29th, 2012. But I took a year and a half off. That last year and a half she was alive, I was with her, taking care of her. But I know she appreciated everything I've done, and I wouldn't change a thing that I've done for her. But and when I got in the truck, and my father's already passed away, my mother said, you know, he'd be proud, because that's something that he thought he always wanted to do, but he just never could do it. And nowadays, I'm sitting out here in this beautiful 4 acres of Calhoun County in my nice little house. I'm happy as I can be out here, you know. Just have to come home at times and have to do cookouts, do some good old barbecues with some friends. Got some good friends come over, and you know, smoke some butts on the smoker or some brisket, and throw some burgers on the grill, and we have a pretty good time. I like going to auctions now too. I've been doing a lot of auction stuff, buying and reselling, or buying and donating is the main thing that I do, because I like doing a lot of charity work now, because I know it's not all about me. But I got 3 older brothers, and they all like me driving, because they'll where'd you go this week, or when did you go here? You know, I tell them I go to Washington State, and they want to know all about that. Or, you know, I can go down to Florida, and they go, man, it's just what's it like down there, because they don't leave much in this area. They stay in South Carolina, North Carolina, Georgia area. One of my brothers, whenever he goes places, he flies, and I tell him about the scenery, and they all just pay more attention to you when you start telling them about the scenery that you get to see. As a matter of fact, two of my brothers got motorcycles now, and every once in a while they ask me about places to go, what kind of scenery to see. And I keep telling them the best way to go is northwest, and just ride the northwest area, because you see some of the most beautiful area. Well, this whole country is beautiful. But for motorcycle riding, going to the northwest, going to back roads that way, to me would be the best scenery to take. Because I've seen it through a bug-stained windshield. I love seeing it on the back of a scooter. I have a best friend. I have several best friends, but my closest best friend, she lives in the town next to me, and she takes care of my puppy when I'm gone. And she takes care of my house, too, when I'm gone. And her son, which I consider a son of mine, he's great. He's a great man. He's a grown man now, and he's a very, very good man. And my dog Tucks means everything to me. My little boy.
So how does everyone feel about you being on the road, Troy?
Everybody really enjoys it because, I get to tell them things, get to bring things back for them. And I've been doing that for years, bringing things back. And it might just be a little magnet or something, and they love it. I mean, because like my brothers, I got them shirts from the states and the cities of the states that they were born in. Because my family was born basically all across the United States. Well, from Missouri on over, it's in the United States. And I would get my brothers shirts from motorcycle shops or something like that for them. And they really enjoy it.
Well, I know you mentioned that you liked going to auctions and doing charity work. What other types of things do you like to do?
Well, my favorite hobby, believe it or not, is cooking. I love throwing something on the smoker and just seeing what I can do with it, seeing how I can make it taste right. And at 152 pounds, you wouldn't think that. But I love doing that because I've been all over this beautiful country, and I've tasted barbecue from south all the way to the north, from the east to the west. And you try to mix all the flavors that you like and try to get that perfect flavor. And that's one thing I try to do.
Troy, tell me a little bit more about your charity work.
To me, getting stuff and giving it to people that need it, that are down on their luck, because everybody's been down on their luck. I mean, everybody I know has been down on their luck at times. There was a good friend of mine, a dear friend of mine. He was driving, and he had a heart attack, and he couldn't drive several years. So me and some friends of mine around here got together, and we helped him and his family. And that was one of the most satisfying things I was able to do, just to see the look on his face when you go up and you pay a mortgage payment for him or pay an electric bill for him. And he just, first, he says he don't want it, but you do it for him and tell him you don't want anything back. Just the look on their face and, I don't know, the gratitude, the feeling that you get for doing something good for somebody else. That's what I love to do. You just got to look out for each other, because there may be a time I'm going to be like that, and I may have to have somebody help me. You never know. You never know.
Well, moving on to the industry, Troy, how do you feel about the public's perception of truckers?
Today's public, I think, looks at truck drivers through better eyes than what they used to. Because I know back in the 70s, they were highway heroes. Back in the mid-'80s, early '90s to the mid-'90s, they started getting a bad reputation, and there was reason for a bad reputation because they were trying to put too much on one driver. And believe me, I know because I lived through it. Now, today's perception or today's outlook on the driver is a lot better because truck drivers, especially older ones, well, I've been in trucking for about 29 years now, but they look at it like, well, back in these days, we did our job, we did what it was supposed to be done, we didn't have any problems, didn't have to worry about DOT or anything. Well, there's more trucks on the road now. There's a lot more unexperienced drivers out there. There's a lot more over-experienced drivers, and there is such thing as over-experienced. That's the drivers who think they've known everything, seen everything, and done everything. And to me, you need to change with the laws, because the laws are actually helping truck drivers stay safe, helping to weed out the ones that really need to be off the road. And believe me, in the late 80s and early 90s, there's a lot of us that needed to be off the road because the things that we were having to do. But things have changed for the better now, and I think the new laws actually help us more than they hurt us. And so I think today's public actually are starting to appreciate drivers more than they were earlier throughout, like I said to me, that mid-80s to the early 90s.
Well, there's always talk about driver turnover. What do you think is the secret to driver retention?
Companies today that keep drivers, I think they really need to put more incentive on keeping senior drivers there, because I have seen where they try to get the less experienced drivers in, which is a good thing because you've got to learn. You've got to learn somewhere, and somehow you have to learn. But when they get so far, like 3 or 4 years in, they'll start slowing their pay down and start bringing in the same thing that they did with the other drivers. They'll start bringing in more and more unexperienced drivers or less experienced drivers to kind of push out the more senior drivers. That way they keep the senior pay out and keep the lower pay in. So to me, it would be a better incentive if they were to say, okay, we can keep the older drivers, we'll keep the incentive in, and we'll try to keep them here instead of looking to get lower pay drivers in. Because, every trucking company you go to, you're going to start at the bottom. You're not going to go in and say, okay, I got 29 years experience, they're going to put you on the top pedestal. There's no way. They're going to start you on the bottom no matter where you go. So to me, if companies want to keep their older drivers, they need to keep an incentive there. Put an incentive in, like longevity bonuses, yearly bonuses. Bump up the 401k. There's a bunch of companies out there nowadays that don't even offer insurance to the drivers. Start offering insurance to the drivers to keep them. I mean, because you'll say, well, you're keeping this much of your pay, but if you have to go out and buy health insurance on your own, it's going to cost more than that to get your own health insurance. Don't cap the pay. If you only have to give them a half cent a mile every 6 months, every year, just give them that half cent a mile, just so give them a reason to stay. Give them a bigger bonus at the end of the year, something to keep the drivers there, to make them to want to stay there. Treat the drivers respectfully. Listen to them. If they've been there for 5 years, they know about that company. They know how that company runs. They're not stupid. They've been there. They've seen it. They've seen the changes.
So we're talking about keeping the older drivers on and giving incentives. How would you change the training of new drivers?
I would make it mandatory for more training for the new drivers coming out. A bunch of schools now, which I've just heard, I'm not 100% positive on this, are training on nothing but automatic only. Well, they need to get in there and train them on standard, direct. They need to train them on every transmission out there. But, I mean, I know they can't because there's too many transmissions. I mean, if you train them with a 10-speed automatic, fully automatic, no clutch, you give them a 10-speed ultra shift, they're going to ask what that third pedal down there for. You train them with automatic. You put them in 18-speed. They're not going to know what to do. More training. The companies that hire these people, these students, they need to work with them more. Get them to understand that they're not out there alone. That's one thing they think. They're out there alone, that they can't talk to the older drivers because they feel that the older drivers are going to talk down to them. I'm not like that. A bunch of people I know are not like that because we all had to learn. If they would let them know, you can talk to other drivers. I mean, sit down and just talk with them. Don't go to the lie table up at the breakfast bar or the lunch bar or whatever that thing's called. I'll call that the lie table because that's basically what you hear up there. But just if you have problems, talk them out with other drivers. It would help you. It would help them compared to automatic transmission. Spend more time with them backing. Spend more time with them showing what a log looks like just in case electronic log breaks down, because they do have to go back to paper logs if that does happen.
So taking all that into account, how do you see the future of the industry?
The future of the trucking industry in the United States, I think, is very bright. I really do, because more industries are coming back to the United States. There's in South Carolina, there's like 3 or 4 plants that are opening up here in South Carolina, and they're deepening one of the intercoastal waterways just so the container ships can get in, the freight ships can get in, so they can open up another port, which that's going to bring in more trade from overseas, which is going to see more container trucks, which the container trucks now, they've done up and down on them because they're using better tires, better suspension and all that now, instead of some of these fine piece of equipment you see riding down the road with tail lights dangling if they had them. The industry now, I think, is brighter than it's been for years. because we do have people with better ideas coming in. We got some of these people that go to college for years, and they come in and they'll sit down and look at something somebody's been looking at for 20 years, and they'll come in with a fresh set of eyes. Well, why don't we do this? And it's like, it's been hiding all this time until he walked in. Industry's doing a lot better, and I see a bright future for it. I really do.
If you had the ear of the trucking industry listening to you right now, what would you tell them?
What I would like to say to the trucking public is take your time. Don't be in a hurry. There's not a piece of freight on that wagon that is worth your life or anybody else's. When you get mad at somebody, back off. Let them do what they got to do. Relax. You be out there. When you're out there, enjoy yourself. It's a job. Yes, it's a job. But don't force yourself onto others. Don't force yourself into spots you don't need to be in. Take your time. Sit back, relax. Give yourself cushion. There is not anything I hold worth my life or anybody else's life out there. But if somebody cuts you off, slams on the brake, back off, hit the brakes, pull over. I've pulled over several times on the shoulder of the road. I'll get out and check my load. Just do something to keep from getting angry. Enjoy yourself on the road, and don't take everything so seriously. The problem in the industry today is people being in a hurry.
One final question, Troy. If you had a legacy to leave behind, or you wanted people to remember you in a certain way, what would that be?
When I'm dead and gone, what I would like for people to remember of me is that I was a caring person. I'm a giving person, and I smiled all the time.
Well, we hope you've enjoyed this episode of Real Life Trucker. If you would like to be interviewed for this podcast series, you can get in touch with us in one of two ways. The first is go to the website and fill out the online form. Once you hit submit, it will come directly to us. The other way is, of course, to hit our voicemail line at 615-669-9478 and leave us a message there as to when the best time to contact you is. Until then, be safe, and we will see you on the next podcast.